What's going on, everybody? You know what day it is. It's time for your next dose of Warrior Wednesday with your host, that Wounded Warrior guy. That's me. And today I am going to be briefing you guys, if you will, on what to expect from the content coming forward in this channel for about the next month and a half or so. Going to kind of give you guys a rundown of what my plans are, the topics I'm going to be going over, and yeah, it's going to be great. Really interesting information that I'm going to be going over, like I said, over the next 6 to 8 weeks or so. And basically, I'm just going to give you guys the format of my idea for that, how I've broken it down, the reason why I think it's important, and yeah, that's basically what today's video is going to be. And then next week, we will start the first part of that entire series. So I'm sure that you guys are wondering, well, what the heck is the series? You know, what are we getting ourselves into type of thing. This series is going to be dedicated to what to expect once the medical evaluation board has finished, you have separated from the military, and you are getting ready to join, getting ready to come back into the civilian sector and start the next chapter of your life. What that looks like, what type of questions you need to be asking yourselves, and the type of preparations that you need to be going through to make sure that that transition is as seamless and easy as possible, and that your preparation, your goal setting, everything that you've done up until that point sets you up to be successful for what it is you're trying to do. So I'm just going to kind of go over the steps and stages for this, and basically next week, like I said, we'll start part one. Part one is going to be split up into 3 separate sections. Part one is going to cover your goal setting. So what goal should you be setting for yourself? You're going to hear me say that a few times. Should. Not what goal do you want to set for yourself, but what goals should you be setting for yourself? What goal, what idea, what plan best meets your situation? I saw this countless times during my time at Walter Reed, speaking to other soldiers, and like, I get it. You know, you've spent a lot of time in the military, you suffer this traumatic event, and you're going through like what seems to be jumping through all these hoops, talking to all these doctors, going to all these clinics, spending what can be years in a wounded warrior barracks, in a recovery program, going through your physical therapy, your rehabilitative therapy, all that kind of stuff, and it weighs on you. And a lot of times, more so than not, people just want to get out. They just want to get out. They just want to go home. They don't want to answer a whole bunch of questions. They don't want to jump through the hoops. I get it. However, the military, I'm going to tell you right now, I love the military. But the military is not going to tell you no. It's the only time in your life that the military is not going to tell you no. And that's the one time that somebody needs to tell you no. Right? Let's say you've been in the military for 10 years. You've probably been told no every time you've asked a question, for the most part. Even when you was right, you might have been told no. Can I do this? Should we do this? How about this? No, no, no. Can I just separate and go home? Yes, you can. It's very easy. It is very easy to cut corners when you're an injured soldier. It is probably the easiest thing that there is to do in the military. And they're going to let you do it, because the quicker you get out, the less money it costs, the faster your position in MOS gets refilled. That's the simple truth, guys. It is. So they're going to make it as easy as possible to get you out as quick as possible with the least amount of pay and benefits. I mean, that's any major business. I mean, at the end of the day, the military is a business that runs on money, that runs on resources. So it's going to happen. That is why it's so important to determine what your goal should be, not what what you want your goal to be. Everybody's goal whenever they first get injured, when they first get to the VA, when they first get to the Wounded Warrior Barracks, they want to go home. I've been there. I did it myself. You have to take your medicine. You have to be patient. You have to jump through the hoops. And even if you have to stay there longer than you're projected to stay there to make sure that you get the benefits that you earned, that's what you have to do, because they're going to make it real easy for you to leave as fast as possible if that's what you ask for. So do not be tempted by that. Take your medicine. Ask yourself, what should my goal be? Now, I'm going to split that section into 3 parts. We're going to go over work, education, and retirement. I'm going to bring up statistical information that I can find online as far as like success rates in each one of those categories, what type of programs are offered for veterans in each one of those categories, because each one is very, very different. So there's plenty of programs like Ticket to Work for people who want to get back in to work directly after leaving the military. There are tons of educational programs and ways to extend your education benefits to make sure that you continue to receive things like the GI Bill far beyond that 4-year limit. Yes, I said that correctly. You can actually get an extension placed on that. Well, we'll go into that when we get there. I don't want to jump ahead because it's a lot of information. But we're also going to talk about retirement, what retirement can look like, the type of benefits you can expect to get, and basically how to prep for retirement financially and how to be financially successful and how to determine if you can be financially successful by retiring. If the numbers don't add up and you cannot afford to retire, you might have to revert back to one of the other options to make sure that you can set yourself up, and you might have to delay the retirement process in order to be able to continue to build that nest egg, because at that point it might not be there. So these are all things that you need to take into account, and that's stage 1, which will be broken down into 3 parts. Stage 2 is living arrangements. Where should you live? Again, should. Not where do you want to live, not where would be ideal to live, not where is it pretty, where is it cold, where is it warm, 70 and sunny. That's not it, guys. Where you should live depends on so many things. It is a huge decision to make. A lot of people immediately want to move back home. I get it. It's probably the most easiest. At the time, it makes the most sense. It's probably the least financially stressful way to go about it, right? However, depending on your condition, depending on your goals that you made in stage 1, and depending on the benefits that are available, certain locations are not ideal, okay? Every soldier that goes through the Wounded Warrior program potentially will come out with disabilities. Depending on what those disabilities are, you need to live somewhere where you can continue to get the care that you need while you live there. And if you have to go to a specialty clinic, and if you live in an area that's 18 hours away from the specialty clinic that you need to go to every 3 months for your evaluations, for your checkups, for the care that you need to see your provider, all these things. And trust me when I tell you, I have to go to the VA all the time. I will have to go to the VA every 3 months for the rest of my life. Every 90 days on the dot, I have to be there, have to be there, have to be there. that is for the rest of my life, guys. And it might actually get shorter. The intervals might actually get closer together the older that I get. As my disabilities progress, I might need to see my provider, might need to see my specialist more than every 90 days. So you have to take that into account. You can't live three hours away from the VA if you have to be there every 6 weeks and you're still planning to hold down a full-time job and you're still, blah, blah, blah. Like, you have to find a location that those types of facilities are there, they're easily accessed, and in a case of an emergency, you can get there in a timely manner that makes sense. Okay, so let's see, what did I split stage 2, which is where you should live, into 2 separate parts. We're going to talk about state choices, the pros, the cons. I'll pull up some examples of the different types of benefits that are available in each state, the different types of specialty clinics, where they're located, and we'll talk about salaries. We'll talk about BAH differences. So if you're planning on working, whatever job, whatever career, whatever field or trade that you choose, you need to decide which state, which salary scale makes the most sense and is going to best benefit you as far as like what level and in terms of like professional capability that you have in whatever trade it is. Like teachers get different salaries between states. As far as like education benefits, BAH, stipends, all that stuff is different rates through different states. So what you have to determine is you have to look at the cost of living. Then you have to cross-reference that to the BAH and the stipends and additional education benefits. And you have to determine what location is best for you, because I've looked. Let me tell you, the percentages are not super accurate. There's some places where the cost of living is higher, but not really. And the BAH is way better, as opposed to living somewhere else where the cost of living is lower, but not really, and the BAH is way lower. Okay, so just to give you guys an example, I was going to live in Tallahassee, Florida, where the cost of living, honestly, not that much less than where I'm living now. The only thing that's different is my rent, which if we would have gotten somewhere like this, at this scale, in Tallahassee, the rent difference probably would have been negligible. However, the education benefits was a difference of about 45%. So it's 45% less at the time to live in Tallahassee than it was to live where I'm living now. That's a huge chunk of money, and that's money that you get every month for every month that you're going to school. And throughout the year, that money adds up, and that's only one difference, guys. Like, we're going to talk a lot about, and that's the second part, buying homes versus renting apartments, or, renting out space and picking a state or picking an area where there are additional benefits for veterans and disabled veterans, as far as like buying homes and real estate, property taxes, the homestead clause, all those types of things. Like, depending on what state you live in, you might not have to pay property taxes. You know how huge that is, guys? Like, property taxes are something that most people pay every single year on property that they own every year that they own it. Even if the property is paid for, you still have to pay property tax. The more property you own, the more land you own, the more the property tax is that you have to pay every year. Some states, for disabled veterans, you don't have to pay those property taxes, and we're going to get into that. So those two parts are going to be, number one, choosing the state, pros and cons. I'll give you guys a few examples. Then we're going to talk about buying homes versus renting space. what you should choose based on your situation that's going to help you get to the goal that you set in stage 1. Stage 3, I've split this up into 2 parts. So this is going to be determining your financial plan that is going to allow you to get the most out of your benefits. Determining your financial plan based on the benefits that you're going to receive once you've separated from the military. All right, so I split this up into 2 parts. We're going to go over part 1 is going to be the benefits that you can receive, how to make sure that you advocate for those, apply for those, send in your claims, and what each one of those benefits are, and this, that, and the other. So in that part, I'm basically just going to go over all the benefits, how you can apply, how to know when you're applicable for them, when they can kick in, and that's basically going to be all of that part. The second part is going to be how to use that information to set a budget based on your benefits and your location, and I'm going to use numbers estimated from an E4 pay scale. Okay, so you can go in and you can calculate your own numbers if you're going to be at a different pay scale once you retire or separate or however you want to look at it. I'm going to base everything off of a E4 pay scale and give you guys the numbers for that. Okay, so that's going to be a 2-part series. So basically what I have right now, and it could be extended because like I said, there's a lot of information. It's going to be 7 parts. It's going to be stage 1, what goals you should set. So your goal setting phase, you're going to determine whether you want to go back to work, you want to go use your GI Bill to get your education, to move into a different career field, or if you are able to retire and live the dream life, do your hobbies, stay at home, raise kids, whatever you want to do. That's going to be 3 parts. Stage 2 is where should you live? Once you have your goals, once you've determined what direction you're going to go into, which state suits you best, suits your goal best, and is going to benefit you the most as you pursue that goal. That's going to be split up into 2 parts. We're going to go over, I'm going to give you some examples of states, pros and cons, the benefits that they offer. Then we're going to go into buying a home right away versus renting space, how that can benefit you, and the reasons why each one of those can be beneficial. Then we're going to go into a financial plan based on the benefits that you're going to receive upon separation. I will go into the benefits that are available. And honestly, guys, I'm only going to go into the main ones. There are tons of benefits. Like, I could be doing this series for the next 6 months if I was going to go over all of it. I'm only going to go over the big pieces that is available to the most amount of service members upon being injured and separating and moving back into the civilian world. So I'll go over that list. I'll break it down for you guys. Then in the final part, we'll be talking about how to set up a budget based on those benefits at an E4 pay scale. And that's going to be a budget from before separation through into the first 6 months. We'll probably do an 18-month spread, and I might actually split that budget portion a little bit further. So we might go into an additional part because the budget is so important that you get started on it prior to separation. And I know so many people who left the Wounded Warrior Barracks, left the VA with very little money in their pocket, and they probably had a very tough time pursuing those goals that they wanted. So that, guys, is what to expect from this channel, from me, over the next 7 to 8 weeks. It's going to be a lot of information, and I know that you guys are going to enjoy it. I hope that there are a lot of things that we're going to go over that's going to be beneficial to you guys, whether it's to you personally or somebody that you may know. And yeah, we're going to have a good time about it. Make sure to get into those comments. Let me know what you guys think about this upcoming series. I'm really excited about it. Until, you know, until then, we'll get started next week on part 1. And yeah, guys, it's going to be awesome. Before I get off here, don't forget, even if you don't realize it, even if you don't believe it, there's a warrior in every single one of you. And I see it. Take care, guys.